Hello, Joyful Health friends. Welcome to our 100th episode. And I thought it was only appropriate to bring Aubrey Golbek back on the show because that's how we got started. So, Aubrey, welcome.
Hey, I'm so excited to be here, and I cannot believe this is the 100th episode.
Yeah, I mean, I was telling her and I said, you have to be on this episode because you're the one who made me do a podcast in the first place. She was like, "What do you?" I did. I was like, "Yes." I was so afraid of being a speaker. I started out writing because writing, you can write, you can delete, you can edit, you can rewrite before you put it out there. And I was so afraid of being misinterpreted or misspeaking. And so I think you were very patient with me, and I would freeze up sometimes, and I just re-record whole episodes. And you're like, "Why did you do that?"
I,
But it was also God who said, "Hey, my power is made perfect in your weakness." And so that really helped. It's like, okay, this can be imperfect, and that is one of the best ways to glorify God in this. And that's the whole point of
yes.
why we're doing what we do. Um, so really just wanted to have this episode to catch up. I know some people really miss you on the show. They're like, "Where's Aubrey?" Like, I love you two together, and I love us two together too. So, so we're just gonna catch up and talk about what God is doing in our lives now, like really how we got started for any new listeners, and then where we feel like God is nudging us going forward. So, um, Aubrey, why don't you go first? What is going on in your life right now? Tell us.
Oh, wow. Such a big question. And first, I'm going to answer a different question that you didn't ask or address something. That
Okay.
is that you talking about freezing up is so funny because I am an oversharer. So that's why the Lord put us together. I need to think more before I speak, and you need to
I
think
know you
less,
should just,
maybe.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's true. It's very true.
Okay, where am I now? Is that what you asked me?
Yeah.
I am in the midst of recording this. We are preparing for Christmas, and tomorrow is my daughter's fifth birthday. So I can't,
Oh,
I think
happy
actually
birthday.
when we started Joyful Health, I was pregnant with her. Like when we were
Yes.
recording the course, I was pregnant with her, and now she's about to turn 5, which is just craziness.
Hmm.
Um, I'm not homeschooling. I am working out of, and I've been on a couple episodes and said this, but I'm working out of my husband's chiropractic gym, functional nutrition practice. I guess it's our practice. But I work out
Hmm.
of there 2 days a week, and my kids are going to an amazing school, which we are so grateful for. The Lord is like, I mean, if you had asked me 2 years ago if I was not going to be homeschooling, I would have probably like maybe not actually punched you in the face, but thought about it and been, annoyed because
Good
that
thing
was
this is
my,
online.
yeah,
So,
right? I can't, I've never punched anyone in the face. I just want to make the record straight. Um, but this was not my plan at all. And it's turned out to be the best plan ever. So, that's where we are just like very briefly. We're still in Oklahoma. We're just enjoying this next stage of life and parenthood. Our youngest is about to turn 3,
mm,
and yeah, we're kind of entering that middle childhood stage, if you can say that with a 3-year-old still. I don't know.
hmm,
And enjoying. We might get into this more, like what are we doing career wise, but I'm really enjoying seeing people one on one in person too. It's been great.
yeah. Okay, another family question. Are you still homesteading, making sourdough, doing your garden, having chickens?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we still have chickens. They're not laying right now because it's gotten cold. But I am not. I actually tried to buy another starter the other day, and I could not get to it. So my life is, even though I'm not homeschooling, I'm more busy outside of the home. So there's not as much opportunity for me to do stuff at home. I still love that stuff.
Hmm.
So, I still really crave sourdough pizza and sourdough bread sometimes. So I'll just go like buy a starter at a local farm store, use it and let it die, which is so sad. But No, we are not. We actually even took a pause on the garden. I hope to get back to that once we have like a full staff at our office and we're not needed as much there. But yeah, total life change.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll kind of share my updates and then kind of ask you a follow-up question too. I feel like so this summer I took the summer off as far as anything Joyful Health goes. Wasn't podcasting, had my email responder on. I was still writing because I just don't feel like a person if I'm not writing something. So, and I was training I had one client that she would come to my house. I would still train her when we were in town, and it was just so life-giving to be at home and to not have a ton of obligations work-wise and to be with the kids. And so I probably kind of went the opposite direction and
Yeah, yeah.
because I've always been an overachiever, but really when May rolled around, May 2025, I was just dreading the next day and
Mm,
feeling already overwhelmed and feeling like everything was work, including things around the house, doing bedtime, making lunches, doing like going to any teaching workout classes. Everything felt like work. And so I was writing in my journal and I said, I think I'm burned out. And I always pride myself on balance. I was voted best all around in high school. So thinking like, I can do everything well. I mean, it truly was part of my identity. And
mm,
I was like, oh, and I know. And so the Lord has been speaking to me of the whole, which I should have pulled up this verse. I didn't think about it until now, but that He prunes what grows and what does not bear life, He takes away. And it was like, okay, like what is not bearing life? What is not life giving for me? There was a lot. And that needed to be taken away. And what was growing needed still to be pruned back so it could continue producing fruit. And so I actually I've said no to teaching a few other fitness classes currently. It was just another thing that I felt like my mind was divided by, like, teach this class, teach that class, make up this thing, go here and go there. And I'm in, like, my body was overworked, which made me tired for everything else. so, um, so now it looks like a lot more, well, I would say writing because that's not really happening. It is so hard to write. Everything else is way more fun to be like, I can do this, I can do that. Productivity, it's addictive. So I would love to. I am going to be writing more because I set myself a deadline, and I am doing more in-person speaking, which has kind of popped up,
mm.
which is really sweet. I did say no to another church ministry position because I still felt overwhelmed. So I've been saying no to a lot of things, and that is hard for me. But I feel like really in a pruning season, and that also feels good.
Yeah.
So tell me about your switch from being in home to now working a little bit more outside of the home.
Yeah. I think that's so sorry, guys. Got a phone call. Sorry. Um, I think that's what you already said about just like that pruning season is it's funny because I think it looks so different for every person. And it just depends like what is life that's an important point to bring up here because what is life giving for one person is not necessarily life giving for the other person. Also
Mm-hmm.
think it has to do with where you place or has to do with where you put your identity. Um, outside of God, obviously. So,
Mm-hmm.
like for me, I am going to answer your question. I promise. For me,
Yeah.
like my identity was a lot in, I mean, historically, it used to be in my body size, right? In my fitness. And that's kind of what started my journey. And it shifted a lot to being in motherhood and homeschooling and all of that, even though that was a good thing. It became something that was crushing because I was putting my identity in it, just like putting your identity in productivity. And so letting go of that and trusting other people to care for my children and love my children. Obviously, it's still my primary responsibility, but like releasing some control, right?
Yeah.
Um, that freed up so much spiritually and mentally, and it like opened up my joy, like revived my joy in the Lord again.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny to hear, like, you kind of had the same thing, but it requires us to say no to different things, whatever they are in our life. So now I still only work 2 days a week outside of the home. I
Mm-hmm.
still have the 3-year-old at home. He's not three yet, two and almost there. Um, and I still have to say no to a lot, which is hard, but I feel way less guilt about it now. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like I'm like, no, I can't do these other things that I know the Lord's calling me to in this season excellently, or even just with love. I can't do them lovingly and
Mm-hmm.
also do XYZ. I was actually volunteering for our youth group, and it kept kind of being like not working out where I would match with the group. Like I kept having to be switched back and forth between like this group of girls and this group of girls just to cover, and I never really was establishing a relationship. And I also could feel like this tension of I don't need to be doing this. It's a really good thing.
Yeah.
Um, so I had to give that up.
Mm-hmm.
And so just as an example, like everything give and take, right? And sometimes we think, oh, we stopped doing something, so we should immediately add something else to our list,
Oh, yeah.
right? And that's no, I actually had a friend that was like, you need to just do one thing first before you try going into a whole nother thing, which duh.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, like career wise or what I'm doing clinically, um, it is nice to see people in person.
Mm-hmm.
It is nice to have, I still see people online like through Movement Q, but I do love just that change up of like meeting with the same person consistently, getting to like pray for them, getting to really dive into what's going on in their life. Um,
Mm-hmm.
totally different.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah. I think I, I mean, everyone loves the one-on-ones in person.
Hmm.
And I know that okay, let's talk a little bit about then, like, why did we start Joyful Health? Back in 2020, it was a big year all
Oh my
around.
goodness.
I guess we met. Would you say we connected in 2019? I'm like I released Move for Joy, the book in 2019, and we
Hmm.
connected over Instagram. And
2018,
was that 2018?
because you helped me when I was writing my book, and I believe I published it in 2018.
Wow. Okay.
Come on, Casey. You don't know our friend
I'm sorry.
anniversary?
I'm not giving. So our friendship is actually 7 years old, which is a great
Yeah,
number. I am okay with that. It's not
yeah,
6 years. It's 7
yeah. Oh
for all of our
gosh.
youth out there.
That's one thing now that they go to school that I have been indoctrinated into. And I'm like, stop it.
It is. I mean,
Anyways,
it's still kind of funny.
it's cute. It's funny. Yeah.
Um.
Sorry.
Yeah. I'm gonna stop there.
Yeah. Why did we start Joyful Health? That's kind of what we were
Yeah.
going, like,
Yeah.
talk about
So
that.
I mean, I remember my side of the story is that I was following you on Instagram and I was really going through some what I now see as disordered eating, um, just spiraling in my thoughts around like, why I was just thinking about food way too much. I was overeating as far as what I thought for my body because I had learned a lot and I was rabbit holing into all of these different nutritional avenues that weren't actually healthy for me, which I didn't know that existed, you know, that too much knowledge
Mm,
can be a bad thing. Um, and well, yeah, I wouldn't say too much knowledge. Just knowledge without it being applied in the wise way. So, and then I would see your pictures of like a dinner plate of leftovers, and you talked about it being a balanced meal and that being nourishing and that being good. And that really released me from a lot of the perfection mindset. And I was like, oh, she's a dietitian. She knows what she's talking about. She talks about grace in food. And my mindset around health was like, it needs to be marked by joy. And if we're exercising and we hate it, then what are we doing? Because this is a gift from God. And so, but I needed to apply that to my relationship with food. I didn't really know how to do that. And I think that was like your post really helped open that up for me.
I always crack up when you talk about, because before you have said that those posts kind of annoyed you. Like they kind of triggered you. Like you're like, what? Why this is, or you were underwhelmed. I can't remember. I remember you talking about like your food posts would annoy
No,
me
but
or
it was
trigger.
it was a good way. It was
I
a
know.
break from all of
Good
the
challenge.
perfect plates that everyone
Yeah.
else would post.
Yeah, which if you were around Instagram when it first began, we sound so old now. People used to share food pics. Like that was kind of the gist. Instagram was for food pics. And I don't know what else it was for, but food pics was the number one thing in my opinion. Like, hey, look what I ate today.
Yeah,
So
I did that
uh,
too, and it
yeah,
looked awful.
yeah, you know,
It's very hard to get pretty pictures of food, and I would take pictures of our dinner right before we ate it. And then it was like, no, hold on. I have to get the lighting right. And by the time I would actually serve it, it would be cold. I would be frustrated. Everyone's like waiting. And I did this for so many meals.
yeah.
For what? For I would get like, partnerships with Ninja. I would get a blender every once in a while.
I mean,
Um,
that's kind of nice. But
well, what I realized is that when it compromised my family's relationships, it was not worth it.
yeah, 100%. 100%. It's like, you know, and that was the same thing. That was kind of why why I got into it was just being so obsessed with eating perfectly and making sure I exercise. Like I'd be getting in fights with my husband about that. And I just
Hmm.
realized this is not what I want to pass on to my children. And this is not the relation, like the marriage that I want to have. And this is someone who I married who's into health and fitness. Like he's a chiropractor. And
Yeah.
he inspired me in that he would always have this permission with food. Like he would allow himself to have fun food, but he would always listen to his body. Like he would never, if you were like, hey, do you want to try some of my food on my plate? He'd be like, no, I'm good. I'm full. I remember I used to be like offended at that. Like, what?
Like, what do you
You don't
mean? You
want
can
to
always
try?
eat more.
Yeah. Um, so that was kind of a big thing that confirmed when I finally read Intuitive Eating, that book, like, oh, this is how my husband eats. And he has a really healthy relationship with food. Um,
Yeah.
but we met through you helping me write my book. I don't remember how, like maybe you followed me on Instagram and then
I
somehow we
saw you
connected.
posting about writing your
Okay.
self-publishing, and I was like, I've been self-publishing and I've learned all these things that I would love to pass on of like what not to do, most especially. And then we just end up having phone conversations. And I also, those were the moments when social media was like frustrating for me. And because it didn't feel like there was a good enough reward for the amount of time that I was putting into it.
Hmm.
And once again, the Lord was like, this is supposed to be for connection. So connect with somebody, some tough love. And I was like, okay, I'm going to, let's like take this to another level and let's have some phone calls. And I can help pass on this because I think her book is going to be awesome. So let's make it easier. And then
Yeah.
we kind of just kept talking from there. And was it you who talked about the course or me? I don't know.
I wanted to do a course because I had more kids. So I was honestly just from a practical standpoint thinking, how can I like teach more people, create something that is like an on doesn't need as much of my time, but I can still like get this message out to people. And
Yeah.
Casey was so unique to me because she had the same mindset as far as we should be enjoying exercise and also like it's a gift from God. And there really wasn't a lot of people at that time. There were a few, like there was a group of people who were integrating faith and this new way of eating and just trusting your body. But I thought it was so cool that you had the movement piece. And I was just thinking this would be the perfect combo. We can get this out there. We can address it from, the two major um, triggers for people. Like people are either
Hmm.
really into food and, or over over obsessed with food, right? Or they come at it being like over exercising or having an unhealthy relationship with exercise. So it's like both ways we can bring people in, right? Like we
Yeah.
can interest people who want to heal both sides of their relationship with health.
Right. Yeah. And for me too, when I was training clients, a lot of it was about changing their body. And so they wanted to know what they should be eating. And I was like, I can give them some general advice, but, honestly, I was really letting go of all of that myself. So I couldn't train people with integrity and to say, oh, do this and you'll get smaller or
Mm,
whatnot. And so it's like, I would love to be able to give people education, this education that is setting me free in my own journey, especially separating like the exercise and the food as far as you're exercising to burn off what you ate, because then exercise is always going to be chained to
hmm
punishment and never to be a voluntary, free choice of doing something that you love because it's part of God's creation and that's what we were made to do.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and then you were in Oklahoma and I was in Georgia, and we thought, how are we going to do this? And your husband dabbled in film. So it was
Yep.
like, great. I can either buy my own film equipment and film my part, you can film your part, or it'll be cheaper to fly up there and do this together. So I remember having surgery right before the shutdown. And so I had to be in the recliner essentially for like 6 weeks. And I was just typing out transcripts for our course and then flew out there over the summer. We recorded a 12-week course in the span of 3 or 4
30
days.
days. Yeah.
3 days. I mean, it was nonstop, back to back. And that course is still so relevant. I mean, it was 5 years ago, but it is foundationally exactly what I would teach somebody today.
hmm
So I think that God is still using it. And of course, there are parts of it's like, ooh, we've learned a little bit about public speaking and how to speak naturally into the camera. Um, but, I think God can still and is still using it. And it's still the course that's like, if you want to be free from obsessing over food and exercise and really hating this journey with health, then please take our course.
Yeah.
It's so cheap now. It's like $9.99 a month if you want to do it. You just try it for free for 2 days, because really it's like I don't want any barrier to be there. But of course, if you want to buy it, there's a separate price for that. Um, so yeah, and then I kind of blossomed a few other courses that we thought were root causes,
Mm,
body image, that turned into body blessings, um, which is still is like the ideal. If are we speaking curses or blessings,
mm,
um, with our language, and that the power of death and life is in the tongue, and so how are we doing that over the bodies that God has given us, and doing that with prayer. Um, okay, so now I'm kind of getting a little bit more into it, but then yeah, do you have any other perspective on that story of how we got started and
mm.
what joyful health was like for you during those few years?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was. exciting to see so many people do the course, and we had a lot of people who just dieted for decades. Decades, and this was like a completely new idea to them. So it was exciting to see that. And we did, like, as it came, as we would take people through the course, we would see like, okay, we can tell them these things, but these roots are like even deeper, right? It's a root in the belief that the body can't be trusted. That's a big root
Mm,
that I think we still deal with.
yeah.
Um, is like just differentiating what is like sinful nature versus what is this body that God designed really well and gave
Mm-hmm.
us, and just, so that's part of why we created body blessings, also to just help people have a practice of rewiring their mind when it comes to those beliefs about their body. um, and that was really cool as well. It was a really hard time. This is just personally. It was really hard time for me personally because I had like two babies in the space of all of it,
Yeah.
and went through some really tough like postpartum depression and anxiety. But it's just kind of amazing. I look back and I'm like, okay, that was the Lord, because I don't know how we created a course and did all these things in the midst of like probably the hardest time of my life, probably the hardest
Mm,
time of most people's recent lives. I mean, 2020, right? Like 2020
mm-hmm.
through 2023. I feel like we just all went through a um, collective trial period. You
Yes.
know, so that's kind of interesting to me, and I feel like growth doesn't happen um, in easy times. That's the hard truth of it, right?
Right.
But yeah, I see that, and then at a certain point, Casey got to take it from there after I had my second child. Fourth child, but second child in the
I
space
was
of our
like,
time. Let me just clarify. My fourth child, she took it on, and you did the Non-Diet Christian Academy, because we had kind of started thinking about, hey, like what we really need to do, like the way that Jesus spread the gospel is he poured into leaders who are going to go share with other people. And people in our course who weren't necessarily practitioners, they were already doing that anyways. Like, because when you find that freedom and that joy, like you cannot help but share about it, right?
yeah.
I heard someone talk about, I don't even know that they were a believer, but they were kind of challenging believers. Like, if you truly believed, you wouldn't shut up about this. Because she's like,
Mm,
when you see people who are on keto, which is just like, this is irrelevant. People who get on keto and they're like,
yeah.
this is the answer
Intermittent fasting.
for those first 6 months or whatever, when life hasn't hit. They're like, they don't shut up about it. Like they're keto
Mm-hmm.
evangelists. And kind of the same thing, like when we find greater grace and greater peace with Christ in whatever area, like we don't want to shut up about it. Um,
Yeah.
so that's what was happening. And we wanted to equip other practitioners to do it in like a more systematic way. And Casey kind of took that off. So share about that a little bit, Casey.
Um, when Aubrey really took a giant step back and just said, I'm not coming back, that was so hard. I'm like, oh, I can remember the moment where I was just crying because it was like, this is the only thing that I've done work wise that I've enjoyed so much. Like, we just
Mm.
bounce off one another. It's like that creative collaboration or creative combustion, you know, where
Combustion.
she's working. It's called something where like
Yeah.
being apart versus being together working, like it creates this energy, because you're able to bounce back and forth easier. And so I have very little motivation when I'm just working on my own. And I hate running a business. I'm just going to confess that. Um, my husband owns a business and he loves it. And so I asked him about them. Like, do you enjoy running a business? And yes, he does. He has two. And so he loves it. And I don't. And so every day, I'm like, Lord, do you still want me to do this? And every day, I don't get a no. It's just make it easier or like slow it down or make it smaller. And
Hmm.
so, which is crazy because when I've done business coaching, it's like, where do you see your business in 5 to 10 years? And I think I should have this answer of like, it should be exploding. We're going to have 50 employees and be known around the world. And that if I'm taking it on, that's not what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Because like we've had employees and we've had contractors, and while it's good, I just feel such a call to my family and household that it's really hard to for me to want to do that. So anyways, so you stepping back was a really big like, okay, Lord, what do you want me to do here? Wrestling back and forth, because if Aubrey wasn't working, I wasn't motivated to work because I like was doing it not for her, but people help spur you on. And so I remember praying about it and praying about it with Megan Becker, and she was on a coaching call with me, um, and the person said, I just want to encourage you, just like keep going, keep doing what you're
Mm.
doing. And that was my exact prayer of, should I keep going? Should I keep doing this? And that client said that. She said those exact words. And that happened again in another email that was just kind of out of the blue. And so here I am, keeping this going, Aubrey. Thanks a lot. No, but it's been so good. I mean, it's such a journey, and being able to train leaders. I mean, that really is the most efficient way to do this because we're small, but like Jesus only had 12 disciples. That doesn't
Hmm.
seem like a huge kingdom, but each person took what they knew. So, the whole premise of the Non-Diet Christian Academy is to share the freedom that you know with those that you care for. So, yes, we have health professionals in there. Yes, we have ministry leaders. And we also just have intuitive eating enthusiasts who are just like, I how are people still counting calories? How are people still obsessing over being skinny and smaller when I know this like such a better way? And so, but we really struggle with communicating that in this diet culture because people can talk about their diets easily, or like, oh no, I can't eat that at Thanksgiving, or I'm not eating breakfast until 11, and then that spurs something. But we are when I'm a personal trainer and I'm eating a donut in front of somebody, then that can also spark a conversation, and I need to know how to respond. I
Hmm.
need to be able to say, well, I believe that all foods fit into a healthy diet, and would you like to hear more about my story? Um, and kind of like the asking permission part too, because I don't think we do that in conversations either. So, I mean, it really is. It's so comprehensive, like the academy. And we teach, the basics of non diet education. So, what is intuitive eating? What is a weight neutral stance? And then also the grace based theology, because so much health and fitness is advice, it's not the gospel. And so, how can we talk about health in the way that's exciting, because health is a gift from God? And even, restore to me the joy of your salvation. Salvation, root word is salve, which means health. And so, and like we talk
Yeah.
about too, that joy is the expression of grace. And so, how are we marked by joy in this pursuit of health? And so, because we're pursuing God and not health. um, so yeah, the Non-Diet Christian Academy is wonderful. It is transitioning into a more of a self-study, so you can still do you can still go through it, and I think it'll be better for those who want to take it at their own time because um, it is pretty robust. I mean, you are doing 2 teachings a week for 12 weeks to finish it, along with book readings, which, reading the intuitive eating book, reading motivational interviewing, such important books. And
Mm-hmm.
then, so it really does equip you. But I'm also going to be offering, if people, because some people do still want to be certified, in order to do that, I'll just meet with you one-on-one and kind of go through like the motivational interviewing, coaching, practicing that, making sure that's, you understand that, making sure that you're good to go as far as that. So, yeah, so I think that probably goes into our next question, which is, where do we see God nudging us um, for the future, in 2026, or just as a body of believers?
Mm. Um, Man, okay. Where do I see God nudging the body of believers? We kind of talked about the,
Or yeah, like health wise, especially because you're in that world.
okay, yeah, we kind of talked before this interview started just about some of the trends. And Casey might do more on that in another episode. And I think it's more of kind of the same of last year, but longevity is definitely a big trend, and we have so many devices and so much new capabilities with AI, um, and testing. And I'm kind of in that world now where I offer some functional lab tests where we can know so much, right, about our health.
Mm,
And you had mentioned earlier, like knowledge, there can be too much knowledge if it's not knowledge applied, or if
yeah,
it's not knowledge submitted in my, like, if it's not knowledge that's submitted to the higher knowledge of God. So
yeah,
like wisdom, right? Wisdom versus knowledge. We can know a lot of things, but if we don't have the capacity to do something with that knowledge, it's not helpful. It can become actually like suffocating, right?
yeah.
And it can cause us to trust in that as opposed to God. So
Mm-hmm.
what we, in our clinic, we really do try to have, we do have kind of a longevity view of things. Like we want to help people make lasting changes so they're not constantly re-injuring their back, or they're not constantly like coming back in with chronic pain because they're just not taking care of themselves. They're not moving their body, they're not feeding themselves well. And with my background, right, with Joyful Health and knowing how important our relationship with food and our relationship with the Lord is, I feel like we have a unique way to pour into people and help them establish those habits, but establish them in a way where we're just planting a seed and letting the
Mm-hmm.
Lord cause that to grow instead of freaking out, over analyzing all the information, trying to be perfect. That's where I see that trend going if you're just kind of going with the world, like, hey, what's the
Mm-hmm.
next thing, right? Like, it's still the same thing. What is the next hot trend, cleanse? You know what I'm saying? Like, what is the
Mm-hmm.
next gluten free, whatever it is? Like, like, and how do we go that way? Or can we take this information that we're finding out, and can we pick a few targeted things with the Lord to work on? Um,
Yeah.
I can see both sides of those things. I do feel like we have woken up and we have realized that counting calories, for the most part, is not the answer, and that this health picture, like the culture has realized that health is far more than calories in and calories out. And the culture has
Mm-hmm.
realized that, hey, we need to take care of ourselves, and it's sleep and it's stress and it's all these things. But where that can still go wrong is hyperfixation and missing. Look at the connection. Like, look at how all of these things are tied together and how beautifully it all interacts with each other. And we can't miss a creator if we're looking at
Yeah.
that, right? And
Yeah.
as Christians, we need to remember we can't manage all this by ourselves. Like, we need to
Mm-hmm.
be in awe of all the information, like, wow. And also, okay, God, what do you want me to do? What do you want? What's the little thing you want me to do? So I don't know if I answered the question, but I went on a tangent.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And, every time health information changes, which it does
Hmm.
constantly, and it's a good thing because we're continuing to learn and to grow. But without God, it can be very overwhelming. It's like, well, I used to have the food pyramid, and now what the heck do I eat? You know?
Yeah.
And now women are doing all their hormone testing, and I work and work out with a lot of women who are perimenopause and menopause, and there is so so much biohacking that goes on in that time of life because it's scary for your body to change. It's scary for you to gain weight, for your sleep to be disrupted, for you to get hot flashes, and so, but then there are functional medicine practitioners who offer different ways, and it's like, well, but then there's functional medicine, and then you have your Western medicine doctor, and those are often not aligning, and so as an individual, it can be very hard to discover that path for your health. And what I
Mm.
found in just interviewing people for Joyful Health, I mean, we always try and leave the listeners with 3 practical tips or steps. And number 1 is 95% of the time, start with prayer. Maybe 100% of the time. And I don't feed this to the guest. They come with these steps, and it's almost always start with prayer, start talking to God, ask Him, bring Him your needs, and listen. And so I think that's why like the Body Blessings journal is so helpful too, is because there's a place to talk to God, and then on the other side of the page there's a place to hear His response and to write that down. And even if we don't know exactly how to hear from God, we can practice that. We can practice listening and responding, and there's so much more peace, even just like with this whole Joyful Health journey. And I don't mean to throw you under the bus at all, because I think the world of you and being able to follow the Lord for your family, for your business, and it's so exciting. And also, you've just made this where I wouldn't have done it by myself. Um, and but being able to like bring everything to God in prayer
Hmm.
is still what we'd start with. I mean, I do ask Chat GPT a lot of things nowadays, but it is no substitute for Jesus. It is not a good mediator. It is a good information giver, but that as human beings, we don't need information. We need a person. Like, we need
Hmm.
Jesus. And so I understand why ChatGPT is so popular, because it's like you can ask a question and it'll give you a response. And that's why it's like, okay, we needed a God who we could relate with one on one, and that's still who Jesus is. And he still gives us the answers. We have to be able to practice that. And I think that is the most important health habit that will continue
Hmm.
to take us into the next generation of health. Um, and so I think that is where God is nudging us. Like, yeah, you can use AI, but um, God is your creator, and so He actually knows
Hmm.
what's best for you. And it can give you some ideas, but it's not going to really align with what you need, because what you need is God. And like we talk about in Joyful Health, like health flows from your spiritual health. So you gotta get that relationship right first, and then kind of go from there. Um, so yeah, let's see. Okay, the direction we see God nudging us. As far as, what about you for work? Where do you see God nudging you, or Movement Cube in general for?
Mm. Um, I think we're just gonna keep going with the path that we're on right now. We're trying to, I know that my husband kind of has the vision as far as like we want to bring in like other types of practitioners. So we'd love to have more collaboration with, between Western and Eastern type medicine. I wouldn't call us like
Mm,
full on Eastern medicine, but we want across the board. There's so much division,
yeah.
and what's been really fun in our practice, we have like a lot of believers. We have a lot of believers who are members or part of our practice, and some of them are medical, and it's just been cool to see like God is doing a work because even our non-medical members, they're like have this passion of health, right? And but they want to do it in a way that honors God and puts Him first
Mm-hmm.
and is countercultural. So I see us hopefully collaborating more, building more of a team of practitioners, and having it be, yeah, a place where we just continue to point people to the fact that like this is a long journey. There's no prize for getting a smaller body and a certain amount of time. Like this is about just living your life to the full with God while you're here,
Mm-hmm.
and planting those seeds for eternity, right? Um, it's funny. Even as a dietitian, even though I'm a little bit in the functional space, it's just funny to get on social media. People, dietitians are kind of viewed as as the medical side, right? Like the the
Mm-hmm.
Western. So there's so much hate. Like if you say you're a dietitian, it's like you must, it's just like so divisive. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you like, so we want to bring those two together. We want to bring the
Mm.
people like who have a passion for health and helping others, like the practitioners. We want to unite them, and
Mm-hmm.
use like the gifts that God has given everyone together. And I think that's what they say they're trying to do in the hospital. When I would work there, it's like, hey, we're going to do rounds and we're all going to chat and advise each other, but it doesn't really work out that way. And I
Mm.
think true unity is unnatural. It is supernatural.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
I think that does need to happen in a place where God is present and he's the main focus.
Yeah.
What about
Absolutely.
you? I'm like, where have you shared any more about your writing or anything like that? You don't want me? You're like, don't
No,
ask that question. Okay, sorry.
because there's one final thing that needs to be finalized, so I
Okay,
can't
okay.
quite share it.
Speak.
Which
Okay.
so I'm writing instead. um, I'm writing just a 21-day devotional for Christian women done with dieting, and it
Yay.
is kind of like a primer. Anyone who's been interested in intuitive eating but feels a little bit like it's at odds with self control as a Christian or discipline or good stewardship of your
Mm,
body, and it's like, okay, this devotional is just going to be a quick, like, PDF to help you just go day by day of, here is what scripture says. So if we can interpret scripture in a different way, and it'll also include the 10 principles of intuitive eating throughout it so that you can start practicing it in a gentle way and kind of see, oh, this is what it is. It's not this scary thing. It's not just letting go of all the rules. So that will come out in March and only through the Joyful Health email list. It's too small to be printed to be self-published. So that's like the current writing project that I'm excited about. And it can just be a good refresher, especially if thoughts of food get in the way of your relationship with God. I mean, that's really what this is for. It's called food fixation freedom. So to help you get free from being fixated on food so that you can
mm.
have a stronger relationship with the Lord. Um, so March 17th is that release date. So you can, let's see, the pre-order will not be available once this episode comes out, but you can still order it. You can pre-order it for $10. And then once it comes out, then you'll just get a copy of it. I'll just email it to you. So you can do
Awesome.
that. Let's see, joyfulhealth.co/store, I think would be the best place to do that. Um, yeah, Non-Diet Christian Academy, you can still join that. We're going to, in the new year, we'll have it as a self-study option. So if you want to learn more, either you're a health professional and you want CEUs, you can apply for those, or you just want to learn more as like to be able to equip your body of believers, your congregation, your Bible study, And okay, that's joyful health wise. And really the pruning is like, hey, I'm focusing on the podcast, focusing on writing. I think those are the two best ways to serve people in this space right now. and then in person doing more speaking because I've been enjoying that, which is so funny the way that God works. And like John 3:8 is the wind blows where it wishes. You hear its sound, but you do not know where it comes from or where it goes. So
Mm.
it is with everyone who is born of the Spirit. And that's truly what this journey feels like. It's like, I don't know where God is going with this, but I'm going with the flow. We're putting our sails up and we're gonna sail on this next burst of wind that he's taken us. And it's exciting. It's always different than we expect, but better than we can imagine. So, Aubrey, thank you for joining me for this 100th episode of Joyful Health.
Woo! Yes, thanks for
um,
having me.
yeah, I am so glad to be able to chat with you and catch up and share with the listeners where we've been, where we feel like God's going, just to celebrate and honor Him. So I'm gonna pray for us before we go. So just take a deep breath and exhale. Let your body and mind relax in this moment. Because God, you are the God of the present. And when our minds start to really project into the future and there's fear there because it's unknown, we remember that you are the God who is known and that you give us what we need to know. You give us yourself and help us to center in and focus on you. I am so thankful for everyone listening here that they would feel surrounded by you and your presence, that whenever they feel like they don't know the next answer, that they would ask you. When anyone lacks wisdom, they can ask you, and you will generously give to anyone who asks without reproach. And I thank you for Aubrey. I thank you for her family. I thank you for each of our journeys with you, and that in the end, it is truly it's a relationship with you. And so I pray that our health habits would reflect you and honor you, and that you would take us into this next year by your grace and truth. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Okay, friends. Until next time, may you rest in his grace.
And follow the joy.